Streetpass is awesome. Even today, I still go with mine despite knowing there's next to no chance I'm gonna get one. If you don't know what it is, basically, if you take your 3DS out in sleep mode with Streetpass activated, and it comes across someone with their 3DS in those same conditions, a Streetpass will occur, where both Mii's will transfer to the other 3DS, and you can use them in games on Streetpass Mii Plaza. Everyone can play Puzzle Swap and Find Me on there for free, but Streetpass Mii Plaza has paid DLC, and I was dumb enough to pay for all of them. Since I'm a part of a rare breed who's played every game it has to offer, I'll be ranking all of them, in my opinion, from worst to best. I guess this is also a recommendation for which ones are worth getting too, but all of them are still pretty decent. Except... while I actually enjoyed this game more than the two games right above this list, I can't deny that even for Streetpass, this is too simple. All you do is press A to buy stocks when the stocks are low, and press Y to sell them when it's high. The Streetpasses you get are used to show a prediction for each one, and the more Mii's you have, the more accurate the predictions are. They can also warn you when a stock is about to rise or fall. By the end of the session, it'll tell you how much you've earned, and your goal is to accumulate as much money over time as the game tells you. You can use the funds you have to spend on items in the shop, but that's about it. Puzzle Swap is arguably more simple than this, but I'll talk about that game later. This game essentially just boils down to waiting and pressing a total of 2 buttons. This game was also part of the third pack of the Streetpass DLC, which meant that it didn't even give you Plaza tickets. As being part of the third pack, you were given the option to either download this or Slot Car Rivals for free. But between these two, please get Slot Car Rivals. Okay, this game might be pretty low on the list, but don't worry, just hear me out. This game doesn't have any real problems, in spite of it being low on the list. It's a beat-em-up zombie game where you use items given by the Mizumi to defeat zombies in a level, and the items can range from a luggage, to a camera, to a Wii remote, which is an awesome addition. There's a good amount of levels in this game with a solid difficulty curve and pretty neat boss battles. There's missions you can complete on each level, giving an incentive to replay the levels, and some of them I don't understand just how people are even able to get them. So what's the issue? It has a lot to offer. Well, it's more so just personal preference. I'm sure someone else would have this higher on the list, at least probably somewhere in the middle. I enjoyed it here and there, and certain portions are pretty engaging, but I just didn't find it to be for me. I never really got into beat-em-up games much, and this game didn't change my view on those kinds of games, but I can appreciate its positives, which is why even though I enjoyed it less than Market Crashers, it takes the 13th spot. Yeah, I have it down here for the same reason as Battleground Z. I just didn't find that game to be for me. It edited out because I enjoyed more parts of this game overall. This game is a space shooter where you use Mii's in the form of pods as your form of attack, and the color of the Mii's shirt determines what kind of attack you can do. Unlike Find Me, it doesn't matter what kind of shirt the Mii's have, so you can beat any level with any kind of Mii. Also, each type of attack can be upgraded up to level 3, and it doesn't matter what kind of Mii is being used. So let's say you have a white shirt Mii, and they have the Cosmic Cutter attack, and a yellow shirt Mii, which shoots out the electric attack, I forgot the name. You can stack the yellow Mii under the white Mii in your ship to make the Cosmic Cutter attack stronger. Also, having more Mii's mean you can take more hits as well. Each level has 5 gems hidden throughout the course, and a mini-boss at the end. There's good stuff overall, and just beating a level for the first time rewards you with a Plaza ticket, so that's nice. It has good incentives to get you to keep playing until the end, but otherwise I wouldn't try to 100% it. Bonus points for the soundtrack though. All of these games' soundtracks are good, but this and one other game on the list are standouts for me. Take a listen. That's some pretty good stuff right there. Now, on to the next game. When making the list, I didn't expect this one to be as low as it was, since I actually do enjoy this one quite a bit. It's tied to the Find Me universe, where you are a cook who serves food to folks trying to save the king. You are given an order to make, and you try to make it with whatever ingredients are given by the travelers, which varies depending on what shirt they wear. And you can even switch out the order if you feel like you don't have enough to make what's being asked. The higher quality the food is, the better the travelers perform when they go out. It's similar to cooking mama, and there's plenty of recipes to try out. You can also save up to 5 different ingredients in your fridge so they won't be thrown out after you exit the game. With leftover ingredients, you can use them to make different kinds of recipes in the kitchen, or improve a certain recipe that's underdeveloped. There's a good amount of incentives to keep going, whether it's just to beat the game or to make every recipe. It's only lower than most of them because I just like the other games more. So on to the next game. In this game, you send your Mii flying out of a cannon to take down enemies you find along the way. The Mii's you Streetpass with holds scrolls of clothing, and your goal is to align their position with the trajectory of how you'll be launched, so you can change into those clothes to deal as much damage as possible. There are 3 types of clothing that you can change into while being launched, which depends on the color of your Mii's shirt. As the game goes on, there becomes more obstacles in your way of delivering damage, and you'll have to figure out how to play around that. And I think that's where the game ultimately shines. This is one of those games where you have to abuse play coins to get far in the game fast enough, since you'll get to a point where you'll be dealing so little damage with just one tag, so that brings it down some. But I have it over Feed Me more so because the gameplay is just more appealing to me. I've modded my 3DS so I can add the max amount of play points whenever I want, so this problem is a non-issue for me personally, but it doesn't change the fact that it takes quite a while to beat if you play the whole thing legitimately. Still, Ninja Launcher is an enjoyable time, and I highly recommend it. You are an explorer searching for artifacts in 3 different types of environments, alongside other explorers you find via Streetpass. On your way, you'll run into forks in the road that can take you to various obstacles or rewards, from chopping down tall grass, to opportunities to take photos of animals, or having to shoot down one that's attacking you. There's enough variety to keep you from getting bored from the gameplay. This is also the only Streetpass game that makes use of the 3DS's pedometer, as you're only able to go as far as the amount of steps, or the person you Streetpass with has done. If they have 0 steps, Mii Trek automatically has their steps set to 500 for the game. And if you use play coins, the amount of steps the cat or dog will have will be randomized, though don't expect one of them to have over 3,000 steps. This game has the same issue as Ninja Launcher, where you're not going to get far unless you're insanely rich with play coins. But unlike that game, if you have a second 3DS somewhere, you can go out on walks to rack up a ton of steps, so you can go far with just one Mii. Or just... Regardless, this game is pretty engaging, but there's a bunch I prefer to play over this one. Just like... Warrior's Way is basically rock, paper, scissors, except expanded upon. You're trying to conquer the world through battles where you divide your soldiers into 3 types. Guess what types they're gonna be. Each battle you have is a best of 3 scenario, so you have to plan how you want to split up your soldiers to ensure the best chance of winning, with this aspect only being amplified if you have less soldiers than the enemy. Mii's you meet through Streetpass will lend soldiers to you based off how many Mii's are in their plaza. This is the one game where play coins are objectively better overall than relying on someone else, because even though it's somewhat expensive, the return you get is pretty good, and there's even a chance where you can get way more soldiers than you paid for. And it's not too rare either. This game is quite fun, and while it could have been 7th or maybe even 6th place, there's one part of it I absolutely hated. The final boss. This boss will always have roughly 5 times as many soldiers at you, which is already a massive disadvantage. But you have to have more soldiers than the boss at the end of 5 rounds. Here's the kicker. You don't know what he will throw at you. There is little to no room for error, as if you lose even one time, just throw in the towel because you're not going to win. The only factor that's not random is that the final boss tends to pick one option 3 times, and the other 2 options once each. This changes every time you fight the boss too. So by the time you figure out which one the boss will throw at you 3 times, you probably already lost a round, and you'll be forced to start all over again. This was by far the most painful experience I've had while playing Streetpass games, and is single-handedly preventing me from placing an otherwise really fun game any higher than 8th place. Moving on to a fun game beginning to end, we have Slot Car Rivals. Slot Car Rivals is pretty simple. You race other Mii's Streetpass on various courses, and since the chip in your slot car is a one-time use, the Mii replaces it, either adding a point to speed, performance, or control. The more Mii's you race at a time, the more additions you'll get to a single chip. Sometimes you get lucky and get an insane amount of points poured into one stat. The main mechanic is timing letting go and accelerating again on turns that are marked in red, since if you go too fast, you'll spin out. But if you time it right, you'll gain time in your performance in the race. This similarly applies to ramps later on, where you hold accelerator up to a certain point and let go to get a boost off the ramp. This mechanic is so satisfying once you have it down, it makes going for faster times all the more fun. You can also unlock more types of cars as the game progresses, though I don't really notice the difference between the vehicles when I play, so it's not like you'll have certain benefits over other cars and such. Regardless, this is a fun game all around. Even though you don't get any tickets, it's just an enjoyable time, and I still go back to play it every now and then, even though I've beaten the game twice now. This game used to be a lot lower on the list due to how slow it felt to play, but over time it worked to its benefits, and this game is definitely a slow burn. And now that I'm saying that out loud, most of these games are somewhat of a slow burn since they rely on Streetpass to make progress, but this game feels like it amplifies that part. Your goal is to grow a large variety of different flowers, and the Mii's use Streetpass with water the plants to help it grow. You only need 20 different variants to quote-unquote beat the game, but there's a ton more you can go for, especially if you try to grow the different colors available for each plant. Not too long after starting, you'll be able to start doing little missions to make some money besides selling seeds you don't need, and you'll be able to decorate the gardens you purchased just for the fun of it. It's a satisfying collectathon that I grew to like over time. Good stuff. While these two games have different placements on the list, since Find Me 2 is just Find Me but better, I'm going to talk about both of them together since the concept and gameplay are generally the same. In Find Me, you try and save your Mii using the Mii's you find through Streetpass. The shirts those Mii's wear determine what kind of magic they can use, with some being required to make progress through rooms or shields of enemies. The more times you Streetpass with a certain Mii, the more they level up and their attack will be stronger. This caps off at level 7. Find Me 2 has more branching paths, a team mechanic where if two Mii's are wearing similar colored shirts, they can perform a team attack which combines both of the Mii's levels to usually perform a powerful strike. If you use play coins, the hero that spawn will always only be level 1 or 2. So they're not the most reliable, especially if you're trying to beat the game with as few heroes as possible. Both games are pretty simple overall, but what puts them so high is its replayability and the creative ways you can go about taking down enemies, especially if you have a good amount going with you. With this being one of the two games that are automatically playable on any 3DS, it's a certified classic for the books. Speaking of certified classics... Alright, this one probably didn't deserve to be this high, but you don't understand how satisfying it was to collect these puzzle pieces. As of right now, there are 64 available puzzles you can collect for. The most I've been able to finish out of all of these was about 14, but yeah, this game is almost impossible to complete even with play coins. With that being said, I haven't even explained the game yet. It's hardly even a game though, since you just collect puzzle pieces from other Mii's you Streetpass with. You used to only be able to collect one piece at a time from people, while sometimes getting a bonus chance where you get a bunch of pieces from that person. But late into Streetpass's lifespan, that bonus chance is guaranteed now, so you can complete puzzles much faster. If you're trying to get all the puzzles now, good f***ing luck. A lot of the puzzles that Nintendo added after the first 7 or 8 had pink pieces that were given to you through Spot Pass. But unless you run into someone with those pink pieces, there's no way to collect them, even with play coins. Regardless, I love the animations you can see after completing the puzzles. They just had an unmatched level of charm to them. And it was pretty cool to see the variety of games being repped as well. If Streetpass were to come back on a future system, this game better be a part of that. Please, Nintendo. Okay, this game did not have to go as hard as it did. For a full explanation of the game and its mechanics, pause and go read this wiki since it's the most difficult to explain, but to the best of my ability, I'll try to boil it down. It's a dungeon crawler where you get pieces from Mii's that you can set to create rooms on each floor. Matching colors make bigger rooms, and you can make chests pop up to receive various items. Ghosts may attack you if you make a brand new room, and every few floors you go up, there's a boss fight by the flight of stairs. This is the type of game where you have to play to understand why it's so enjoyable. I know the eShop is shut down, but I linked the way you can access all the games in the description. This and Find Me are the two games that actively reward you for getting repeat Street Passes as well, since if you're able to do that, you can create massive rooms that get you plenty of treasure chests. It's a very good adventure throughout, but there's one more game that triumphs over all of them. I know you're not gonna believe this. I put a fishing game as the greatest Street Pass game, and nobody could stop! You catch fish on various islands. As you run into Mii's, you receive bait based off the shirt they're wearing. Every fish likes certain types of bait, and you can combine bait to catch bigger versions of that fish, although sometimes that goes to waste. You can keep them in tanks and customize those tanks, upgrade your fishing rod or combine 2 rods to make a new one, complete challenges, or view other people's tanks if they have the game as well. Also, when you fish, sometimes a feeding frenzy can occur, which nets you a lot of fish when done. I'm truly a comedic genius. The gameplay is great, and it feels so rewarding when you're trying to go for some of the harder catches in particular. I think I have the most hours in this game out of all of them, though this takes a much longer amount of time to finish than most of the others. But I can't complain. Lastly, the entire soundtrack is so good, and it's for a Street Pass game? Listen to this one. I can continue to gush about this game, but this video art already took long enough. I deem this game as the peak of Street Pass. With that being said, this is Pokeblock signing off. See you in the next video.